Welcome to this meeting of Social Care, Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee on the 5th of July 2021. Just to make you all aware, today's meeting will be recorded. Can I also welcome any members of the public and press to today's meeting? Can I kindly ask you to observe the meeting only and not speak or participate? Can I please remind you all to switch your phones to silent for the duration of the meeting? And in addition, can I refer you to the protocols for remote meetings, which have been previously circulated, namely, your microphone should be switched to mute unless you are speaking. Should you wish to ask a question or make a comment, can you please indicate either via the chat function or by raising your electronic hand via Teams. I will assume that you have all read the paperwork before us today prior to the meeting. Please only use the chat function to indicate if you wish to speak as an alternative to the electronic hand function or to raise any technical issues. And when asking a question, can you please indicate which number you are referring to? The first item on the agenda is to do a roll call. I am Councillor Lynette Purcell, the Chair, and I am present. I will now call on Charlotte, the Democratic Services Officer, to take the roll call.
Thanks, Chair. I'll mark you down as present. Councillor Charlotte Goldsworthy.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Arthur Davis.
Present.
Councillor Oliver Davis.
Present.
John Miller.
Present.
Councillor Suzanne Padson. Councillor Sonia Reynolds.
Present.
Councillor Dave Whitelock.
Present, thank you, Charlotte.
Councillor Alwyn Wilcock.
Present.
Councillor Carolyn Edwards.
Present, Charlotte.
I had apologies from Councillor Griffiths, but I think he is in the meeting.
I am here. Present.
That's right. Let me just mark you as present. I've had apologies from Councillor Helen Kerry-Clark. Councillor Nicola Davis.
Present.
Then Cabinet members, Councillor Alan Lockyer.
Present, Charlotte.
Councillor Peter Richards.
Present, Charlotte.
Then officers, Andrew Jarrett.
Present, Charlotte.
I've had apologies from Angela Thomas, Kerry Warren.
Good morning, present.
Leigh Howard. Robert Davis.
Present.
John Hodges. Hayley Short.
Present.
Trey Davis.
Morning all, present.
Arden.
Present.
Gareth Evans.
Present.
Mike Posh.
Present.
Tammy Davis.
Present.
There we are. Have I missed any members or officers out at all?
Myself, Charlotte.
I think I was muted, Charlotte, when I said I was present. John Hodges.
Oh, right, okay. And who was the other one I missed? Sorry.
So it's Adrian Bradshaw, Charlotte.
Oh, Adrian. Sorry, Adrian. I do apologise.
Fine, Charlotte, no problem.
There we are. I'll mark you down. Chair, that's everyone then. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So the second item is the Chair's announcements, and we have decided to scrutinise items 7, not 8, 9 we just want to make a brief comment on, 10 and 11 on the Social Care, Health and Housing Cabinet Board papers, as well as item 9 on the scrutiny papers. Next, we have declarations of interest. Please indicate if you have a declaration of interest by raising your electronic hand. Charlotte will circulate a declaration of interest form virtually for you to complete. Have we any? I can't see any. All right. So we now come to the minutes of the 13th of May, 2021. I wasn't present at that meeting, but somebody who was, could you have a look and could we have a proposer and a seconder if you are happy to accept the minutes as a true record? Can I have a proposer, please?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, and a seconder.
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, I'll give you 2 minutes now to find your cabinet papers, and we're looking first of all at item 7. So 2 minutes to sort yourselves out, including myself, and we'll have a look at agenda item 7. Right, okay. We were very grateful to receive this, but in the pre-briefing this morning, we had serious concerns about the amount of information that we're being presented with. All of us have got tenants living in our wards who are tenants of Titarian. All of us know that the policy is used all the time when Titarian come to make decisions. And we really feel as though we need time to read every word in this policy in detail. And in fact, as a committee, we'd like to actually be considered stakeholders as part of the consultation. So what we're proposing is on the top of page 11, it says, furthermore, both council and/or Titarian officers could make themselves available for a separate consultation meeting with interested members during the 90-day consultation period, if that was considered necessary and helpful. And it is the feeling of the committee that we'd like to take up that invitation. Just to give officers an idea of why we are so concerned, if I just pick up one question that I picked up, and I know Councillor Reynolds wants to echo my concerns, and this is just one example. On page 26, 4.3.6, it talks about a care of correspondence address. But my question would be, can an applicant do this or not? Because this appears to be contradicted by the next bullet, 4.3.7, which says, at any stage, Titarian may undertake a visit to the applicant's current place of residence to verify the circumstances provided. So I immediately start to think about violence against women. And I think about Mrs. Jones, who may have applied to Titarian and who wishes correspondence to go, let's say, to her mother's house, and yet suddenly finds Titarian offices on her doorstep. Now, it's when I got down to that I thought there will be many other issues like this that we wish to drill down into. We cannot possibly do it in that level of detail in today's meeting as part of a general scrutiny committee meeting. So we would like to accept the recommendation, which is to go to consultation, and I'll ask about that in a moment. But we would like to request this separate meeting. Councillor Reynolds, did you want to come in at this point?
No, I think, I mean, it is a lot of information and it would be very useful to be able to query it with officers of both Titarian and the authority. That was my consideration, and I think that would be an extremely useful way forward. And
Councillor Edwards, did you want to come in?
Yes, please, Chair. Yes, I just wanted officers to clarify this very detailed, dense report and the consultation before we go to the recommendation. Are we recommending that this report in total goes out for consultation? Are residents, applicants, whatever, expected to read all of that before they comment? Because I think it's quite hard reading for you know, possible tenants and so on. Thank you.
Would somebody like to reply on that, please?
Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah, it goes out to consultation. Obviously, all the information there is information that we are required to provide for the consultation. Yeah, it is very detailed. It has to be because of the type of policy it is and the consequences of it. But it's going out to the consultation. It's not necessary that all the tenants read it. They'll be informed of it. It's up to them whether they want to read it within the 90-day consultation period. If they want to get back to us with any comments or anything, then obviously it's open for that. But it's not necessary that they have to read it.
I think looking at the expressions on some of the committee's faces, that gives even more reason why we, representing the tenants, concerns need to be the ones to scrutinise it in detail. But can I congratulate officers on something here? The easy read. It's the first time I've seen an easy read since officers had training on this, and it is much better. So thank you for that. Carolyn, your hand's still raised. Do you want to come back?
Yes, I think you said it really, Chair. I don't think that answer is acceptable. You know, tenants can read it if they want, and they don't have to read it if they don't want. You know, they need to read it if they're going to make comments on it, or they need to know it if they're going to be read it if they're going to be tenants. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so before I ask for any more comments and before we go to the recommendation, can officers let us know how feasible it is for us to set up this separate meeting? Is that possible? Anybody?
Yeah, we can sort that, no problem at all.
Right, and how
we can get Titarian to join the meeting as well, if you like.
That was the critical point. We would be very, very anxious to, I mean, we would be more willing to accommodate Titarian than anything else, because we really, really would like Titarian there to listen to our concerns and to answer our questions. I can see lots of nodding heads. Yes, so we go to the recommendation, which is on page 13.
Chair,
Which,
I could see
sorry.
Was it? Sorry, I could see Andrew Jarrett's hand was up. It's gone down now, but I'm not sure if you wanted to come in.
Right, sorry, Andrew, I didn't notice that. Do you want to come in, Andrew?
No, that's okay. That's okay, Chair. I put my hand up really just to make a comment, really, if that's okay. But then you moved on, so I put my hand down. So sorry for confusing everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to say I think it's a reasonable position for the committee to take. There is a lot of information here. I think you do need Titarian managers to answer some of the questions that you will have. And so I would be supportive and absolutely from our point of view, and I can see Rob nodding, we will facilitate such a meeting.
Thank you very much indeed. I think that really does justify the existence of a scrutiny committee if we're going to scrutinise something as important as this, which has such profound implications for tenants throughout the area. So before I go on, nobody else indicating, I don't know how I missed you, Andrew, nobody else indicating. We're at the recommendation on page 13. It's recommended that members grant permission for officers to undertake a 90-day public consultation exercise on the Consultative Shared Lettings Policy 2021 attached at Appendix 1. Are we happy for that to go to Cabinet? Yeah? Everybody happy? Good, excellent. In that case, we are not scrutinising agenda item 8. We're going to agenda item 9, and we're not scrutinising this per se, but we did want to welcome it as a good news story. We are very happy to think that we are bringing this back locally home and that we have this amazing facility. I mean, we know that the officer, Ali Davis, writes in the most positive way anyway, but I loved her sentence on page 173. The resource centre is now finished, on budget, on time, and looks incredible. And I think we need to congratulate and to welcome positive news whenever we get a chance. We hope that our own centre will enable us to keep a closer eye on what's happening locally with our young people. There was just one question. What's SWAT, S-W-A-T? We've had a few guesses. Any officer tell us what that stands for?
Chair, I can answer that unless Ali wants to come in.
Good.
Okay, it's a way of analysing strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So it's a planning tool that we use, and apologies for the abbreviations.
Okay, we had some interesting guesses. I thought it was to do with smart working. Smart working assessment tool was my guess. I mean, it's not bad. Kerry, did you want to come in?
Just to say thank you, really. It is a tremendous achievement, and it's happened during sort of the pandemic, and we will be creating lots of opportunities over the next few months to be invited. Well, we'll have a proper launch. So we will have a proper launch, and we'll be taking opportunities to invite you all down to to see it. And just to mention, because you know, it is linked really. We do have an opportunity as well to look at the resource we have in Fairways in Sandfields. So we'll be looking at a proposal for that to be to become a family centre. So we'll have a similar type resource in Port Talbot, and we'll be bringing a paper shortly for you to consider.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kerry. And please take our congratulations back to everybody who's been involved in this, because as I say, to do this on time, on budget, and in the middle of a pandemic just shows what can be achieved. Thank you very much. Okay, is everybody happy for us to move on? That was just for noting, I believe. Yeah. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 10. So just give you 2 minutes to find that. Agenda item 10, come on. Yeah, okay. Right, we're welcoming this detailed report, but our first question as a committee is, will this report also be going to the Audit Committee and to the Education Committee for scrutiny? Could anybody answer that for me, please? No. That's the problem. The reason we ask is because it mentions specifically, makes several references to the Audit Committee. It makes references to the Education Committee chaired by Councillor Reynolds. And as safeguarding, yeah, it's an overarching issue affecting the whole council. I was rather hoping that this was going to go to other committees as well. Andrew, I can see you're indicating.
Yeah, only to say, I mean, clearly, if councillors want this to go to other committees, we can facilitate that. As I say, I'm the lead for safeguarding across the council, and so it would naturally come to this scrutiny committee. But if you feel that others should have sight of this, then of course we can make that happen. And as far as the audit committee is concerned, we will be utilising them in the future for reports from the corporate safeguarding board. So they will be seeing some of the outcomes of this report. But as I say, if people feel that it's necessary for us to take it elsewhere, we can certainly do that.
Right, I'll bring in the chair of the Education Committee in a moment, but can I say, as the vice chair of Audit, reading this over the weekend was not comfortable reading, because there were several references to the Audit Committee which I knew nothing about, and neither did the chair, with whom I was in correspondence over the weekend. He, however, has picked up the issues and contacted the officers within the council, requesting that a report comes back on this to Audit. But I know he would be very anxious, along with myself, for this to actually come to Audit Committee. Councillor Reynolds, would you like to give us your opinion?
I think it's an issue in terms of education and would be very useful for at least information to go to the Education Committee as a paper for information. I'm aware that the Audit Committee will oversee the future development and rollout of requirements for this. However, I'm also aware that the issues raised around schools, particularly with recording DBS, have been long term. So perhaps every councillor ought to be sure to have sight of this, who's a governor, because it is an issue for governors in schools, I think.
Yeah, I echo that. Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. I've no idea whether any officer can answer this, but I had a little bit of confusion on page 191, item 7, bullet point 3. Just give you a couple of seconds to find that, where it says, the Audit Committee received the revised risk register on September the 19th, 2018. The Audit Committee are not regularly reviewing the Council's risk register and have not received a further report on corporate risk management in the last year. Now, I just wondered, did anybody know what year that's referring to when it refers to last year? Does that mean 2018, 2019? Because it's not clear. It could be that there's no officer capable of answering that today, though. Anybody indicating?
If I could come in, Councillor, my apologies. Chris Ray Davis is here to
Great.
represent the report, and I can see his hand is up.
Brill. Thanks, Chris. Take it away then.
Yeah, I believe, Chair, that year refers to 2019. So when you look at the risk registers, which we did when we received the report in March 2020, there was certainly an update in 2018. 2019 was absent, but I can assure yourself and the group that the risk register was then again updated in 2020. So this report refers to 2019 in that point you raised.
Right. I look forward to this coming to audit because I think we really do need to drill down into some of the statements that are made in this report. Brilliant. Thank you for that. So that's that clarification. Right. Councillor Edwards, you wanted to ask something about the single point of contact.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to ask how well is the single point of entry working, and can the Director advise on how this is assisting in safeguarding, please?
Hi, Chair. Can I come in to start with that? Given that the question was put to me in particular, but I'm happy to hand over to Chris afterwards. As luck would have it, Councillor Edwards, we've just had a safeguarding inspection across Neath, Talbot, where 17 inspectors descended on the county borough to have a look at our safeguarding practices. They looked specifically at the front door. And in feedback that we had towards the end of last week, we're extremely positive about the impacts of the front door on safeguarding. They said that they particularly liked the fact that we had a multi-agency presence in the safeguarding. So it's not just social workers, there's also a police officer, a health worker, etc., etc. So they were particularly happy about that. They felt that we dealt with referrals well and in a timely manner, and that generally safeguarding was positive at the front door. So that gives me reassurance. I mean, clearly we were being having reassurance as we went along. In any cases, we've been developing our front door over the last 3 years or so. And I've heard nothing in any of the audits or feedback that I've had that would suggest that there is an issue. The referrals are dealt with quickly, and where assessments are needed, they are provided. And so, yeah, so I think you can have as a committee some reassurance that is working. Obviously, when we get the written feedback from the inspectorate, then I will be presenting that at this committee, so that you will see that actually in writing. Chair, I'm happy to hand over to Chris, who is the author of the report, though.
Yes, please. Do you want to come in now, Chris?
I was going to say no more than what the Director has shared around last week's inspection.
Brilliant. Excellent. Really looking forward to receiving that report, and I can see that Kerry has commented that she's really looking forward to it as well. It's lovely to have positive news, particularly in the situation that we are at the moment. Right, I had one other indication during pre-briefing, which was from Councillor Whitelock. Did you want to ask your question about DBS?
Yeah, it's seems a little bit strange to me that we haven't got a single policy for all departments across the authority. Obviously, you're not in a position here to answer for education and other departments, but somewhere along the line, I think we need to work on a singular policy for the whole of the authority, so that everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. Regarding the DBSs, you do yours every 3 years, education do it on the start of a contract. Seems, let's bring it all in together somewhere.
Would any officer like to comment on that? Chris?
Yeah, Chair, and I'm sure you've already picked this point up at P6 in the work plan. The sticking point appears to be around the regulatory bodies. So Social Care Wales require social workers to have a DBS every 3 years. The Education Workforce Council sets no such requirement. So whilst as a council, we could certainly look at our safer recruitment policy. What we really need to do is probably punch up and lobby the Education Workforce Council to look at that. So potentially you would have teachers in post without a DBS, well, for some considerable years, unless they've changed posts, etc. So it certainly is an issue that we flagged with the Welsh Audit Office. They have mentioned it, and it is something that needs to be resolved. But I don't imagine it's something the council in itself can resolve without the education workforce taking a proper look at it.
Right, can we just ask you to continue to work behind the scenes then and try to get some sort of coordinated responses? I appreciate that it's not easy. Thank you very much for that. There's no recommendation. Did anybody else want to ask anything about agenda item 10? We happy for that? Okay, excellent. So we're now on to agenda item 11. There was only a very simple question here from me. I'm sure I've asked this question before, but I can't remember what the answer was. And that was, it's page 214, 2.2. The authority has also determined that when assessing the liability of persons to pay a contribution, it will take into account all financial resources, both capital and income permitted by law, and to disregard only those financial resources required by law to be disregarded. We understand that bit. For the avoidance of doubt, the value of any funeral bond or similar scheme to provide a sum towards funeral expenses will be taken into account. Can you just clarify what's meant by that? Do these funeral bonds have actual value? Anybody?
Chair Andrew has his hand up.
Thank you. And John, excellent. Andrew, would you like to go first?
No, before I embarrass myself then, Chair, I'm going to hand over, for my lack of knowledge, I'll hand over to John. Thank you, John, for putting your hand up at that stage.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is they may have a value. Somebody may pay a lump sum to guarantee a lump sum, or that this will cover the cost of their funeral whenever they die. Now, they might pay £2,000. They might pay more than that over. But as a policy decision, because effectively they're putting money away to save and guarantee things, but they've deprived themselves of capital at this moment.
Right.
If the policy had no value, there's nothing to take into account. But if somebody has paid a sum to guarantee a fixed cost for the future, we would take into account what they had paid at this stage when looking at their resources.
Thank you. That's much clearer now. Thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy, I can see you indicating.
Hi, yes. And a lot of them bonds, I'm sure, John, only even if you live for 10 years or 20 years, I'm sure no matter what you pay in, it's also capped as well, I think, isn't it? And also there is, in addition, I don't know if anyone is aware, I'm sure it's British Gas, but I'll check. It also got grants available for funerals, which I think will work hand in hand with this. And it only came to my attention when I was dealing with a reopening of a grave. And they will pay substantial amount of money as well, obviously to anyone in need for a funeral, to help with funerals as well. So Lynn, I can't remember her name, but Lynn in Environment would know more on that. But it's a really good scheme, and it's very few people actually take it up.
Thank you for that, Vice Chair, and thank you for that clarification, John. Excellent. Okay, I have no other questions from pre-briefing. Does anybody wish to ask anything about agenda item 11? No, in that case, we look
Sorry, just a point of information. This policy is a lot shorter than the previous one. Some local authorities reproduce all of the legislation and set it out there, but the purpose of a policy is to set out the discretions that we will exercise. And so we've taken a lot of information out of this because this is not the right place to simply set out what the law says. It's to say what we as a council, or you as councillors, have chosen to do within the limits allowed to you by the Welsh Government.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Thank you very much for that. Okay, nobody else? We're looking at the recommendation on page 210. It is recommended that members approve the updated residential, sorry, I had something coming through on the screen. Sorry to repeat, it is recommended that members approve the updated residential and non-residential care charging policy as set out in Appendix 1. Are we happy for that to go to Cabinet, everybody? No indications otherwise? Great, thank you. In that case, again, giving you a couple of minutes to adjust, we're going back to the scrutiny papers. Thank you. Just giving you 2 minutes. Come on. Right. And we're looking next at the forward work programme, which is just attached for information. Anybody got any comments about that?
Chair,
Yes.
do we need to go into private?
Not yet.
No.
In a second after this. But thank you for reminding me. I will never forget, and I'm quite happy to share this. Very, very early days that I was chairing, I forgot completely about going to private, and John was waving at me from the other end of the room. And I won't forget you for that, John. Thank you very much. Right, okay, so no comments on the forward work. There are no urgent items. So now we need to go into private. So, right, okay, to resolve to exclude the public for the following items pursuant to Regulation 4, 3 and 5 of Statutory Instrument 2001, number 2290, and the relevant exempt paragraphs of Part 4 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972. Can I have a proposer and a seconder to move into private, please?
I propose, Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. At this point in the meeting, I would like to thank any members of the public and press for joining us this afternoon. But could I please ask that you now leave the meeting? Could I also please ask that the recording of the meeting now be stopped?